So here we are at the Battle of Towton. And yeah, that's a hell of a lot of pieces on the board. And there are reinforcements as well. Not a lot of board, a lot of pieces. It was an interesting battle. Of course, one of Edward's great victories. All right, so one of the interesting things, first of all, it's a huge battle, obviously. The largest in the series so far. I don't know about Arquebus. Yeah, with a tiny little map. And the interesting thing is it's being fought in the middle of a blizzard in March, which led to accusations of sorcery, of all things. What's special here? Well, the first thing is the battles are deployed really strangely. For this era, usually battles are deployed as little individual commands that slam into each other and have a fair amount of maneuver capability, etc. Here instead, the battles are being deployed as lines, one behind the other. That's going to be kind of odd because you no longer will have the ease in play of, oh yeah, I'll activate this side, yeah, now that we do this side. Instead, you're going to have as a huge front hitting, and your other activation will probably be some kind of recovery or something else. I'm very, very tempted. The setup is almost fixed. There's very little effect that the player can have to it. The one thing that they can do, there's a few things they can do. They have some, it's almost entirely an infantry army in both cases. However, you have a limited number of men-at-arms. And I've chosen in both sides to kind of intersperse the men-at-arms along the front lines of each battle. Well, you could wait a battle and put a lot of the men-at-arms to one side, or you could push them back, which I'm not sure how much effect that has. That seems kind of dangerous. I rather like my crappier troops to the back of the line, but other than facing bowmen, the men-at-arms aren't particularly good. And another thing you could do is you could actually throw your men-at-arms in the center and make that the heavyweight, because the bowmen, who are both in the center, start out in a position where, well, if they get an advantage, they'd then have to shift their position a little bit in order to face troops that they're better at shooting. I like the distributed model the better, although the Yorkists have a non-distributed battle formation to begin with, because Edward's got a little reserve here of mounted troops. That's his bonus. He has less forces overall. Well, one of his bonuses. His other is that big reinforcement there. Special rules here. Okay, so those big Yorkists, this is what, Norfolk? But not under Norfolk. So the way this works is you have to take a continuation die roll against John Howard's 3 rating. If you succeed with that, you get a chance to try to bring him forward. In order to bring him forward, you roll a die. If you get an 8 or higher, you get to bring him on the board over here. If you don't, this thing moves forward, and that'll be a die roll modifier. So, the more times you do it, the more likely he's going to come in. How much you need him right away? There's a lot of troops on the board, Okay. Next one is a Lancastrian ambush, centered over in these woods, and that's this cav unit. Let's talk about how the ambush works. I may have gone into it, but it's something we haven't seen. So the way this works is you drop a cav unit, and you're allowed to move it. It's in command during that period. But it can't charge into an enemy standard. It has double movement allowance, and it'll have a shock attack. Before it actually gets to attack, though, it has some effect by coming up for surprise. Any disordered units adjacent to it will automatically be retired. Any other adjacent units are automatically disordered, and then it gets a shock attack. So it should be able to hit a disordered unit and maybe cause some more problems in there. And then it becomes part of a formation. In this case, it becomes part of Somerset's front line for the Lancastrians. Okay, Marshes and Richard III. Yeah, this is probably from Bosworth, but it's used here. And it basically makes cav hate and artillery hate the marshes. Whenever they enter into such a space, they have to make a roll, see if they're disordered, in addition to anything else. They can't charge into or from them. They can shock attack out of them. If they do so, however, into or out, it makes a check. Well, the combat die roll, if it's 0 or 1, ends up unhorsing them. The battle also, as I said, was going on in a snowstorm. The biggest thing here is the wind and the snow combined, which was blowing right in the face of the Lancastrians. And so their longbows facing this way, all the way to the hex spines, have a maximum range of only 4, and they lose 2 off their die roll. And you'll see there's more Yorkist longbows too by sliding out. So they're going to win that firepower conflict. And those firing either northeast, north, or northwest, but not along the hex spines, can fire it out up to 7 hex range, as if they're at 6. They suggest not using the pursuit rules in this one because the battles aren't set up in such a way that it's guaranteed that they'll be able to run off the map in a reasonable way. We'll go without them. I will remember those are optional, but I'll still use the battle flight because we got numbers for them, and I like them. And the actual flight levels, very close. Lancastrian 65, Yorkist 68. Why are they so close? Well, I think the Yorkists, well, first of all, this is a very, very expensive force. But also, I think the Yorkists have a proportionally better quality. A couple more longbows. Proportions on their men-at-arms seems pretty good. They have this with additional men-at-arms, etc. This should just be a slugfest. They said it'll take about 3.5 hours. Yep. That's my park behind me. It's awfully late, by the way. And we'll get started on this tomorrow. Let's take a look at the seizure counters that I picked. Battle cry. Increases a battle attack, a seizure opportunity, seizure opportunity. Remember, these are hidden. And an into the breach, which I believe allows you... No, battle cry allows you to rally. Into the breach gives you a combat bonus. I get confused about them. Okay. And a treachery that allows you to disorder an enemy unit. I think that's the extent of the effect. And it's done at the beginning of your activation. York gets the first activation. What I'm doing is I'm backing the archers away so I can get shots that can't have returned fire at range 5, because that's the kind of munchkin thing that I like to do. Kind of ridiculous. Maybe it would make more sense to concentrate fire where, you know, I'm at the 0 instead of the -1. But honestly, the -1 table is still pretty potent. And I'd rather just not have the enemy even get shots at me on the -3 table. And I can use my continuation attempt to try to bring, you know, try to up the reinforcements, get the timing on that forward. And then I can bring in a real battle, not one of these long lines that I don't know what to do with. Really successful. I've already reduced the archer line by 3 to retired units in one of these. I probably would have lost the effectiveness of at least one of my own units, even with all those penalties. I've got the archers down to only being able to take 2 more casualties before they quit the field. You know, basically the Lancastrians are going to have to expend an effort to try to keep those bowmen on the field, and that means if they do that, they're like, say, firing the flag off, that means they may not get a good fire at all against my bowmen, right? They may not get the continuation that they need, and then I can launch another wave of arrows at them, and another wave, and another wave. There's no reason for me to attack. By the way, there's no time on this one. Let's check the continuation for Sir Howard. He gets it. I'm not going to be playing around with that. And now I need an 8 or higher to bring him on. I don't get that. I pump this up, and I believe that ends up, yeah, it's a failed continuity. No, so now what's interesting here, the reinforcement die roll. If the continuity die roll succeeds, the Yorkist gets an entry die roll. If the adjusted die roll is 8 or more, he comes on, and then you're in the normal activation. It doesn't say what to do when you fail in terms of the continuities. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but I'm going to count that as a successful continuation, even though he didn't come on. And now I get another chance, and hey, look, it's my archers again. And we're just going to bop that back and forth. And the archers get another shot. And I really don't think the Lancastrian archers can save their ass. So, you know, I'm just going to let them get shot up. That's horrible, but it's all I got. And so we reached the battle flight limit. At this point, Lancaster's got to make a check. I get a +1 for my morale. If the net is 4 or less, they quit the field. Or for whatever. Okay, so they get this day at least. For good or ill, because quitting the field would mean, hey, look, those longbowmen go. I'm going to take this off the board because it's been resolved. It means I get to keep my retired points. It would have kind of sucked to lose another 3 points and all the archers. But now we get another continuation up here. This one's at -2. And that won't work. So now we're over at the Lancaster side. I gotta get my archers out of the way, I think. Or I can just run through them. I mean, I kind of want to keep them alive, which is why I'm saying run through them, because there's more cavalry over on the Yorkist side. On the other hand, rallying these serves some purpose. Getting my archers killed does not. I think I'm going to actually move Beaufort's forces forward. Falkenberg's archers move forward and shoot some holes over here in Somerset's troops. A couple of casualties, a couple of retires. There's a lot of them, so they're not likely to disappear very quickly. But this number is shooting up pretty fast, just from the focus of the archers. I was unable to get a continuation to check for him, so this is where we are. And let's see, the bowmen are kind of interspersed with the with the infantry. They're in the second line. So at this point, it's the infantry that are going to move forward, and they're going to try to brush aside Falkenberg's archers, which shouldn't be too hard. But they are going to take another round of shots as they come in. It's just they got to get them out of the way to make their numbers count against the Yorkist infantry. Of course, a lot of the troops got shot up badly coming in. You know, basically they get one shot no matter how many they're facing against them. But you know, it's 50-50 against the men-at-arms, and there were a fair amount of infantry in there. So a lot of these are disordered, but I'm making an across-the-board attack because otherwise I'd just be picking off maybe the edges, a couple of units. It would be really hard to get any attacks in the center. One thing to note, over here, I've got a unit attacking here. Well, could I throw this in? Do I want to? Do I want to throw this in? The answer is no, because in both cases, a disordered unit being thrown in just for numbers doesn't really help. You get a +1 for size and a -2 for a disordered unit in the attack. So there's no real advantage to that unless there's already disordered units in the attack, right? And in some cases it makes sense. For example, with the flanking, you want to get throwing an extra unit in does some good, actually. Not as much as you'd think, but you know, the flank would be +2. This brings it up to +4 for being hit from 2 different directions, which with the -2 comes out even, but there's another one for the size, so it works out well. So I'll resolve all this crap. We're in kind of the interesting choice situation, right? It's time for a continuation roll. A 0 through 3 would allow me to move the bowman again and then give Beaufort another shot. I don't want to give Beaufort another shot, but giving the bowman an action doesn't sound terrible to me. So I'm going to let them take a roll rather than use my seizure. And they don't get it. So we're back here. And I think we want to activate our bowman, pull back a little bit, and shoot some arrows, and try to, give ground slowly and painfully as possible. Continuation. So the bowman just backed up a little bit, shot up some more, and you can see we got him down to, I don't know, about getting close on half what he had. And this is up to 22 out of 65. So yeah, there's what 6 points there, but that could recover. But you know, I've done a lot of damage with them bowmen. I tried to do my continuation over with these to stretch out my line a little bit more, and that of course did not go. So now the Lancastrians get to make another shot at things. Let's see if Beaufort's got everything in command. 1, 2, 3. Oh no! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We had too much of a hole dug into our line. So this whole wing is out of command if I decide to use him. And I think I have to. I mean, I have to get rid of those bowmen, as well as recover units. The only real question, yeah, I have to, because I can't give the bowmen a chance to recover. So far, I haven't killed a single one of them, you know. And now that they're disordered, I got some shot at it. And I really have to get them out of the way, rather than worry about trying to rally these things and just hope that I can keep Somerset's forces, you know, in play long enough. I may also be able to do some damage over here to Warwick. Again, trying to put as much pressure as possible. A little bit of interesting, see over here, we got the 2 to 1 over here, because those are both disordered units. They get a slight advantage by ganging up there. And then on this flank, and which isn't archers, and this flank, we're trying, you know, we're getting the outflanks. I don't think we got them coming anywhere else. These guys couldn't attack, so they pulled back. Make a counterattack by Neville have to come closer, you know, less likely to run around. I could have pulled back even further. Why don't I pull back another hex? Just to make it a little bit harder, you know, make him get into a more exposed position if he's going to attack. All right, let's see what happens when we swing here. A lot of die rolling in this scenario. Bowman killed, no continuation, but you can see the bow, you know, they take 4 more hits, they have to do a battle check, and they do add up in points. The main thing is this battle can't start until I get them out of the way. So now we're back, and I mean, you know, Beaufort's not in the greatest of position, but these bowmen are in the way. I feel like I have to play them out fully before I can really bring Neville in to do anything terribly useful. So let's start with Falkenberg again. Or with continuations. The bowmen shoot up some more, and got this down to 9 units left before rout, and hey, we're almost halfway to routing the Lancastrian forces just with our bowmen. Awesome, man. Yeah, I don't know. And that puts it back in Lancaster's hands. Let's see if we're in range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope. Those guys are still not going to be in range. I think everything else I can get under Beaufort's command. But these guys will just pull back again. I mean, I can't give them time. If I give them time, they can recuperate. They were able to back up and recuperate. I'm going to use a chit to try to do a seizure if they ever get a seizure, you know, somewhere else, because I can't let those bowmen get 2 turns in a row. I have to wipe them out first. At least that's how I see it. Soldiers push forward, trying to hit the bowmen, hitting over here, and actually trying to... No, that doesn't work. I'll just hit this unit. I don't really want to get involved in a fight down there that I don't have an advantage in. If I have an advantage, that's great. It'll reduce some of the possible danger to me. Oh, Edward. I got this feeling he's going to be the guy I roll for an initiative on, and see if I can sweep aside some of Beaufort's forces there. Let's see if Beaufort's got everybody in command, if everything goes. Yeah, he's probably okay there. I kind of want to keep him where he is. Do I want to throw him into a battle is the only real question. Let's improve my odds a little bit there. His command's falling apart anyway. Did you damage to Warwick's men-at-arms? One of them died. An infantry here, disordered, on a continuing attack. Up here, continuing attack didn't go well at all, but took out one of the bowmen. Didn't get the continuation. Tried to do it over on Percy again, didn't work, and now I'm back at York. And it's just like, there's really nothing I can do with these. There's nothing that helps you with continuations or anything. Just interfering with other people's. I mean, you can bone a seizure, and that kind of gives you the right to continue, but that's it. Trying to think if Lancaster wants to, you know, maybe play the treachery or something to disorder one of these bowmen and try to clear it out a little quicker. On the bright side, so far, these troops aren't getting any closer. Just running out of room to backpedal. I've launched Neville's Warwick's. I don't know if there's another Neville. Yeah, he's a Neville too. Warwick's forces to slam into Beaufort's. This serves a couple of purposes. First of all, if I get a continuation, my archers will be able to shoot their way out of an ugly situation, or backpedal their way out of an ugly situation, perhaps. But it also brings it so that I can have that kind of dual operation that I'm used to, with 2 battles hitting at once. Now, the Lancastrians have that opportunity too. They can activate their longbows and bring them into play and intersperse them and use them as well. But I think their ineffectiveness of their longbows makes that a less attractive option at this point. The other option, of course, is... But we're not ready for that yet. We want to get them engaged first. Forces did not have an easy time over here, and they were backed up here. But over here, I destroyed 1 infantry, got a continuation going into there, which didn't do anything. And got some hits over here too, so kind of a mixed result. It's all right. Now, for my continuation, I'm going to pick the bowman. The Lancastrians can't allow that, so they're going to take their seizure opportunity, try to finish off the bowman here. I don't have any way to cancel it, so 0 through 7, they get to grab the activation. And they do. Sweet. Not optimal by any means, but along this line, we're attacking a lot of forces that are in kind of questionable shape in terms of the infantry, trying to do some damage there. Here, just even up, which may not be good, because if we start taking too many losses, we're close to the edge already. But our goal is to try to knock out the archers. We've got one terrible attack here, 1 infantry against 2 men-at-arms, and then not so great there, but we needed to kind of peel some of the forces off. Actually, this one we may just not do. That's just infantry. I don't see any reason to make an attack at worse than even odds when we get our soak here. Right? Okay, and let's see what we get out of it. Terribly good for Somerset, especially for himself. You can see we didn't really do much to the archers. We did a little bit of damage to Warwick, but Beaufort was killed. He took Falkenberg with him, though, which is kind of cool. But point-wise, we took the majority of the hits for that. And now we're pretty far out. Now, at this point, I want a continuation. I'm going to go for my bowman. And I don't think the Yorkists are going to contest this, because those bowmen are not going to be able to do a lot of damage. They'll be able to disrupt things, but I'd rather let them get a shot at failure. So they need a 3. And they don't get it, which means we swing back up here. A lot of tough choices. Oh, by the way, the archer's standard was captured by this guy, which means they can't retire anymore. They'll be dead if they retire. So this guy's going to be out of communication. So is this guy. You know, we pressed forward in one location and exposed this guy. But well, actually, we don't know, because we don't have any leader now. Until we get it back, we're not going to. But Falkenberg shows back up because it's the beginning of a new sequence. His replacement shows back up, and I don't know what to do with him. I mean, he's not terribly useful, so we'll just throw him into place there. The archers winnowed Beaufort's forces even further. You can see they're down to a 4. They really are going to have to do the standard rally, and it won't get everything. It's not going to get this, for example, I believe. I think it's only things adjacent to the standard that rally, in which case, yes, I can move those closer on the next activation, but it slows down my production of recovery. After that, Edward goes, and he's launching charges, and we can just position these. Yeah, this is a pretty massive one there, and then against the flank of that unit, and we're just hoping to bust this up. We're not going to even take down those units, but we want to get weight, try to screw up that command even more. Probably the infantry's a better chance of doing damage, but I had a better chance of getting a continuation with Edward, so what the heck, right? I guess. I forgot one of the big bonuses of the charge combat table. It's not just a bonus or anything on the normal. No, this can actually cause a continued attack, which is big because we were able to eliminate this after the first hit disordered it. This one was just a disorder. Then the archers went and killed another unit at least. So, well, retired another unit in both cases. So now they're down to 1. This is, key moment here. I don't have a chip. I don't have an activation. I can't bring in some chaos. The only thing in my favor is this was what? Activations are at -2 now. I would love to have Warwick go again, but at -2, that's really unlikely. There's a chance that I could cause this battle to flee. So I'm going to go for Edward again at a -2. He needs a 2 or less. That's a fair chance at basically probably winning the battle on the initial stages. But it doesn't happen, which means we go over here. Beaufort's replacement comes in. I got to figure out where to put him. And I had damn well better do a flag activation. Okay, one thing I really like about this system is it's a high luck system. What that means is, you know, I'm getting kind of extreme results here, but it's much harder to criticize a game for balance when there's enough luck in the system that you can see, well, I mean, it doesn't look like it's unwinnable from the Lancastrian point of view. It does seem like maybe I got a little unlucky. Maybe things are a little bit more balanced towards the Yorkists than I think they are. But I'm okay with that because the historical result, which was also a Lancastrian defeat, but under, you know, it was a much closer battle than we're seeing here. We're not sure it's a defeat yet, but it looks pretty likely. Is within the realm of possibility. You know, the dice could get a little hotter in the other direction. All right, so I got to think about where I want Beaufort. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I put him here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, these guys are just going to be recovering or withdrawing anyway. So this is indeed where I'm going to put him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, he only has a 6. Shit. That kind of sucks. All right. He's got to go with a unit to begin with. 1, 2, 3. I think that's about as good as I can do. And now I worry about the removing the retired markers. These guys out here I can't do. I was too cluttered. I pushed my flags up where they're no good. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 of these are removed. Now that's big because I get 5 of them back here. And I get 5 of these back. So, you know, I'm a little healthier. But Beaufort's troops are not going to, they're not going to last the battle. That's pretty clear. Well, we don't know. They're going to have to make a battle failure check. They're not going to keep their standing. They've taken so much damage. And I do not get the initiative. We got these guys here. You know, we got some points back. Things look a little better, although I'm sure the next activation is going to be bloody painful. Like a shock. What am I showing you? My arm. Great. Yeah, I was worried about that. I'm holding my arm well above the camera, but the sleeve is drippy. I've knocked counters a couple of times. I think that's it for tonight, but why is this guy's rallied? And the other guy had to have moved, I guess. All right. But yeah, things look pretty damn bad for the Lancastrians at this point. And, you know, a surprise attack here or something, that's not going to do me much good. And the Yorkists are afraid of it, so, you know, they're set up. I don't know how much difference it makes, but some. Right then. The archers shot up Somerset's forces as well as some of the archers that they were facing. And I got to be kind of careful because now that things have opened up a little bit, some of the angles aren't quite what you expect. So, for example, here I think these longbows were not penalized. I'm not positive. Yeah, they would not be penalized. No, they... Let me think. Yeah, they would not be penalized. And I had some cases where I had to be careful with the Yorkist archers. Like, they were in danger of moving into a position where they'd shoot at a penalty, and I didn't want to do that. But we've moved these markers. Again, this is down to 4. This is up to 39. And now Warwick's launched an attack, in part to recover this unit, basically. Get things back in control, try to get, some handle on things. And also, hey, I got some decent attacks out of it, it looks like. Able to do what I really needed to do, which was another standard rally, maybe, or something, I don't know. I had to move Beaufort's Lancastrians. And I've got some attacks coming in on Neville's Warwick Neville. His attacks were relatively successful, I guess. And that also allowed me to shift things around down here so that next time I get a free activation, I can rally. The Beaufort forces, or Somerset forces, had some success at kind of forming up another line. And then I got a continuation. I think the first time I've gotten one over on their side. And I move Holland's Duke of Exeter forward. And now we're at a troublesome point where York has to make a decision whether they want to use one of their seizures. I think I'm going to use my 0 to 5 seizure here, just because I don't want him getting another move there. It does not work. That's no guarantee of anything. It's still, only on a 0 through 2, but I wanted to reduce the odds that he would get that double move. And he doesn't get it anyway. So this goes back over to the York side. Because, I'm not worried about this hitting, but I'm worried about this getting in better shape than it's in. Crushing that as much as I can really looks like a good goal. If I can get a few more hits on it. Now that looks unlikely. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 disordered units. I have to knock them all out to get a battle check and see if I can make them leave the field. My infantry has kind of overrun for the Yorkists, their archers. So activating the archers didn't make as much sense. I could pull back some disordered infantry. I would have been able to get a couple shots in, but things have gotten close enough. I don't really want to do that. However, I also don't want to do a broad-based attack on a larger unit. I don't think that's going to work well for me. So instead, I'm kind of limiting my attacks largely to Beaufort's command. I will let these come forward and attack me if they wish. I just don't have the numbers to do the outflank, and gain any ground on them. I'll leave it up to them to launch their attack instead. Limited goals, limited gains, not much advantage was taken from that. But I did get a continuation over with Edward. You see we're charging. I gotta remember this, when charging units moved before they charge, they have a -1 to their die roll. That, the troop quality, etc. probably makes up for it. But this guy had to move. All of them had to move last time. And we're using some cav around the flanks as well. Around this flank here. It's right up the center. Hi, diddle. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to slam this guy in the flank rather than, not too much gain there. I killed 1 unit. Managed to disorder one of my knights. My attempt at a reactivation or a continuation was over here on Neville again. Hey, rally some of these units, right? It didn't work. I don't know if and when I'm going to bring him in. Basically, there's not enough force here to really threaten Edward, so he's plowing in, but he could get himself into trouble if he pushes too far. And if anyone should be able to pursue, between dancing on Friday and gaming all day on Saturday, well, not all day, recovering and then gaming in the evening. It's been largely a time that I haven't been getting any playing done. And now I'm looking at the Lancastrian position, and boy, does it look bleak. I have an action. Part of me says, well, I had to unretire these guys because 3 more pips might keep my battle from disintegrating entirely. The other side of it, though, is I kind of need to activate them so that I can start pulling back. And, you know, those disordered guys, those are going to turn into points. But of course, so will the retired guys if the battle retreats. But the disordered guys are going to turn into points no matter what. Even if I succeed in staying on the field. And then, of course, well, there's this guy who's hard to activate, so that's kind of an incentive. But I think he's out of the running right now. I think I'm going to do the flag and hope I get a continuation. That's all I can think of. The Yorkists did not play it yet. However, the Lancastrians failed to get their continuation. So, a massive attack all along the line. Yeah, that's just things hitting my roof. Going for an outflank here, which led me to just throw everything into play. Basically, I'm trying to overwhelm their command structure. If I can get it so that they need to be activating this unit as well as this one, and then the flag. Well, the flag they cleared up, but it's going to put them in big trouble. Now, the interesting thing is the archers, you know, who had this big advantage, and I was using at the beginning. They still have that advantage, but they're no longer sufficient. You know, I want to hit hard and I want to hit everywhere, because just facing the archers, I could probably recover. The thing with them that's cool, though, is they're kind of a low-risk option. Like, if I could pull that infantry back and set the archers back up and shooting, that would do me some good. And, I don't know, so far we haven't seen that cav activated yet, coming out of the woods, and it's becoming more and more questionable. But it's too minor an effect. If it could collapse a section of the line, if there's a lot of disorders that happen down here or something during this attack, it might be worthwhile. But until then, the timing just isn't good enough to have a big enough effect to use an activation. I need to save my unit. This thing is one kind of as expected, but I see I must have bumped things down here. They're kind of more of a mess than they were. I have to figure out what that is. But sort of across the line, kind of a lot of good hits here. That was the real advantage. Elsewhere, maybe I didn't do as well as I could have. I got 2 more pips there, so that's down to a 4. Didn't get the continuation over on Edward, which would have maybe gotten me to kill or get rid of a couple more units. But it still wouldn't have put him to the battle test. Let me figure out what's going on down there, though. That clearly isn't right. Hard choice not to activate Somerset's forces. He's got a better chance of a continuation. I'm far behind. I need to start taking, you know, some chances with the Lancastrians here. So I'm having Essex attack across the line. The reason is there's a slight advantage to attacking. It's not on the charts. It's not baked into there. It's baked into the sequence of play. Things that I disorder here on the enemy, it means that his line's getting, well, it depends. I don't know if there's actually an advantage. But anyway, he's left some disordered guys in his line. Not a lot, but a couple of them. And I get the opportunity to smack them. And this is the only... I also had to withdraw my own disordered guys. Those are easy kills. I didn't want them out there. Essex was the battle most likely to be able to both defend itself. I had about as many disordered units as Suffolk has on the line, as well as actually possibly inflict some damage on Neville, distract him enough that maybe he can't come back. And I could conceivably get, you know, a Suffolk activation as well. He trumped in once, and I don't know. I got to consider whether or not I'm going to use the Into the Breach or the Treachery. I don't feel like anything's terribly... See, this is the problem. These are one-use things, and you kind of feel like you should save them and use them when they're important. But I end up with reserving them for the whole game because of that. You see the lines getting disfigured due to the attacks. You always have to advance. That's why this happens. It's not like the Napoleonic, say, Napoleon's Art of War, which I like to push, but really a lot of those games where you don't have to advance, so you just have this straight line on defense, and it just stands there, and it only gets deformed by the attacker punching holes in it, basically, and advancing into it if they wish. Here, you always have to advance, so even a defensive, line that's attacking out to try to cause some damage to the opponent is going to start cracking into it, and it's cute. There's a lot I like about this system, and it seems to hold together well for being fairly light still. Yorkists tried to do a preemption, seizure, and that did not work. So now we make a quick check on Beaufort and see if he can get a continuation here. And he does not, so the Yorkists get the activation anyway. I really didn't want to allow them to take a shot there. The Beaufort forces are on the ropes right now. And Warwick was left with a couple of units out of command here, but he's launching his attack again. Withdrew some units, couldn't get them all out of the place. Some of them are in kind of annoying positions where it was difficult to extract them. And the oh yeah, I wanted to mention these little counters. They're a pain in the ass to put down and take off and everything as a mechanical exercise, and they're not strictly necessary. But with this large battle, they're really helpful. Like, I guess I could go down the line and just say, yeah, everybody's attacking or something, but it's much, much easier if I can allocate my attacks beforehand. So they're a nice little tool for that. I guess you could allocate them in your mind without them, but with small battles, that's fine, but with the really tiny ones. I'm also looking at the sort of linear deployment that this battle has. And it has neat advantages and disadvantages. The big advantage is I can attack all along the line, and there's no little segmentation. So the points of separation between two battles are often interesting places where problems start occurring. And you have that here between Essex and Beaufort, where if this was all one battle that was attacking, which is what Neville has basically, you could you can pretty much do one attack against each opposing unit, but you end up where the seam is basically in a situation where, like, this guy has to attack both of these, whereas this guy could take the pressure off if it was all one battle. It's kind of a nice little feature of, where it feels a little funny at times, but then you start thinking about, well, coordinating two commands might not be the easiest thing. Now the question is this kind of chaotic melee that has devolved, is it really under anybody's command anyway? But I like what it seems to represent, even if I'm not sure it does it perfectly. All right, into the next swings. And after Neville, and you can see he really kind of got his forces spread out a bit. And then Edward with a continuation, which I gotta mark here. We have knocked Beaufort down to the 0. So he has to make his battle flight check. He does not have any charisma, so on a 4 or less he goes. I don't remember if I took charisma into effect with the other guy who checked battle flight, but seeing as he passed, it's not a problem. He's out of there. this is a problem because now these units that are retired are going to count against as well. So a couple more points, and we're getting pretty close here. Lancaster and Towton, we're getting within range where a die roll could put us out of the game. I think that happens only right after a free activation, which is not what we have right now. So it'll be after Lancaster's turn, but he has no real easy way to recover points. He's got, I guess, he's got the Northumberland troops that he could recover. That's 4 points, but that's it. The board looks empty now. Neville got another continuation. It's unlikely you get 2 of them, but, you know, with the command numbers in this game. And is continuing to push forward. Now, over here it makes sense. He's got some disordered enemy units he can get points on. Over here I'm a lot less certain that I'm doing the right thing, but, you know, I like to attack. I like rolling dice or something. That's kind of iffy because he's very unlikely, maybe it's impossible, for him to get another activation with Neville. And on the other hand, Essex is almost certain to get one, in which case, if things go kind of even here, Essex can pull his damaged units off the line and reinforce them. But I'm trying to press the attack. And, you know, I put the chits down, so I'll go with it. I don't have good odds, though, over there, as far as I'm concerned. And I got yet another continuation on Edward, which probably was a mistake, but it was the most likely thing. I mean, it would have been, with the die roll I got, I could have brought in reinforcements or something. But the most likely place to get a continuation was here. It let me recover this. Here's the problem, though. These forces, I can't get an advantage on them. They're anchored over here in the swamp. The swamp has nasty rules, especially for Cav. So that's absolutely not where I want, you know, to be fighting right now. But Warwick did a pretty good job on smacking things around. We're here. It's on a 7 or more. The battle's over unless I recover these. So I'm going to have to do that. It's not what I want to do at all. I need to activate Essex, but I'm sorry, Exeter. I think I keep calling him Essex. But I can't afford the chance of losing the battle on that roll, although things just look so hopeless for the Lancastrians here. So anyway, we'll activate Northumberland's banner and then see if we can get Exeter to get an activation. Luckily, we don't know this, but there's no more seizures over here. I don't know how many there are. There may only be the 2 in the pot, so I may actually know that there are no more. I know it's pretty damn unlikely. And without a continuation, Neville gets to attack again. He had some units that got cut off from command, and still this guy down here. Trying to rectify that, connecting things up. Don't know how it'll happen, though. I don't have a lot of density of forces. Ooh, I got some units I ought to be moving that I didn't move. Let's get these closer. 1, 2, 3, 4. These guys might be out of command, but it doesn't matter. They're not doing anything too exciting. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what that does, but I didn't want to march forward because these archers would get to shoot me if I do. As it stands, they don't get to shoot me because there's archers here, but I've been standing there after an advance, so that's not a problem. I'd have to activate Percy to get shots off with them. I think it's getting pretty close. I mean, you know, yeah, I cleared this, so I didn't have to make a roll this turn, but there's going to be more casualties. Not even bringing most of my forces into play here. And Percy got killed. Some more points accumulated. We're at 61. That means on a 4 or higher, the Lancastrians just rout. It's game over. That archer advantage is pretty big. Chasing them down, trying to deal with them, it definitely caused serious problems for the Lancastrians. And they never were able to turn things around. Now, historically, the Lancastrians actually started doing quite well until the reinforcements arrived. That was kind of the finishing blow to them. But this never felt like it got to be an even battle in any sense of the word. They couldn't overcome that initial archer advantage. Because it's basically free casualties you're able to rack up, you know, with the Yorkists. You can just start shooting them up. So, I don't know. I don't know how to solve them. They feel like maybe they're a little too potent. The playtest experience. I'm trying to see if there's a balanced discussion on this. There's usually a balance on these. They say York is favored to win, but I don't think. It felt like it was a little too extreme in this case, and I'm not sure that. I mean, I don't care much about play balance. What I care about is balance with regard to the historical, and it felt like those archers were too big of a bonus for the Yorkists compared to what they historically seem to have done. Just going by the description in the game, you know, which gives me a feeling of what the designer's attempting to portray on the battle. On the other hand, you know, maybe I got a little luckier with them than I should have. It felt like they were getting better die rolls throughout the game as well, which may be a big factor in it. Anyway, this is, to me, so far the most interesting of them all. Although I did like the other kind of large one that I did recently. One that I did just before this, which is the second St. Albans as well. You know, I just enjoy games more when there are a fair amount of pieces on the map and a lot going on. When there's just a few pieces, I feel like I'm playing like a squad leader scenario or something. Or Panzer leader or something like that. And it makes me wonder, although I've tried this with something like Panzer leader, making a bigger scenario with more stuff on it. But the problem is the mechanisms to both squad leader and Panzer leader really aren't suitable to the larger scale, you know, to throwing a lot of pieces on the board. There's just too much going on. Too much to keep track of, especially where you've got plotted fire and stuff like that, which you do in the Panzer Leader games to some extent. When you start throwing enough of the toys in, maybe, I don't know. But with these, the system's clean and simple enough. I also like the way the interactions work. I'm gonna probably be not putting too many videos up in the next week, because the next thing I intend to do is actually something I can't start making public until January 30th, or the day after, or whatever. So it's going to be a preview for a Kickstarter that starts then, and you know, I want to get the videos in the bank, but I can't show them to you right now. The reason is I want to make sure that I've got a fair amount of them for when the Kickstarter comes out. But I also don't want to, I don't like the idea of leaving you guys in the lurch. I know some of you, for whatever reason, are addicted to this crap of mine. But, you know, we'll get back to these after that, and it'll be interesting. I promise you, the Kickstarter thing looks really neat, and I'm kind of excited about it. All right, let's send this one out.